Hey everybody, I'm Peter and welcome back to my channel. So before we get started, I want to shout out one of my paid for sponsors, Shock Therapy. So go ahead and visit Shock Therapy for all your spiritual needs. She got the best candles, the best scrubs, the best buttercreams, everything. Like, you want to get those chakras aligned, go ahead and click the link in the description below. All right, so today what I wanted to talk to everybody about, and it's been on my heart heavy, like every time I do a video, like I kind of lead to it, it's like something relative to this information. And so I wanted to go ahead and do a video on it to talk to you guys about the laws of nature and how the laws of nature can be applied to like your everyday life. And if you start applying these laws of nature, you'll see how things will change in your life. Okay, so it's pretty much just information. Free information is all over the web if you want to do research on the laws of nature. I read the Kabbalion, and it has the principles of nature in there. It's different variations, so like whichever variation you get, it's still gonna all make the same amount of sense. They also have the principles of mentalism in there, everything. So principle of correspondence, all that good stuff in the Kabbalion. But I read that book. I didn't read it for like religious preferences or anything like that. I just read it for the information. Okay, so but you can also get books on the laws of nature. Okay, all right, so the first law I want to tell y'all about, and I wrote them down that way I didn't get lost in this video be longer than it had to be, was the law of vibration. And so when we talk about the law of vibration, you want to know that everything vibrates. Like everything vibrates, everything has a frequency. And like so like for example, when we talk, you can feel the vibration off of when we talk. And when you listen to music, you can feel the vibration coming off of the speakers of the music, you know. And everything has a frequency, like frequencies are radio. So communication is a form of frequency. All you got to do is just tap into the right frequency and you'll be able to communicate with anybody on the radio stations or on the radios. Like in the military, you just switch to the right frequency and whoever's on that same frequency, you'll be able to communicate with them. So I use that example because vibrations are similar to the law of attraction. And when you think about the law of attraction, they say what you talk about is what you attract, or what you think about is what you attract. And so the vibration and the attraction is referencing the emotion. All right, so how you feel is what pretty much what you attract. So I wrote an example down that emotion determines what you attract. And so emotions determine what you attract. So you need to make sure that your emotions that you're having are cleaned out. Okay, which is the importance of meditation. Okay, so when you're meditating, you're trying to, you know, relieve yourself of all the things that cause you trauma, hurt, and all that good stuff. So and getting rid of these thoughts. Okay, getting rid of I wouldn't say getting rid of the thoughts, because you want to keep the thoughts, because the thoughts are what made you who you are. But you don't want to give off a certain emotion, okay, with these thoughts. All right, so the emotion, let me get my thoughts together. So the emotion is what you attract. So if you have an emotion, if you're vibrating, oh, my life is jacked up, and you got that emotion of limiting beliefs, then guess what's going to happen, right? You're going to start believing that your life is jacked up, and then you're going to start attracting jacked up crap into your life, all right? Or the same way you're like, oh, no one's ever going to love me. Guess what? You're going to start attracting no one to love you, right? Or if you always saying, oh, why do I always attract men like this or women like this, right? Then you're going to constantly attract those types of women. So you have to be vibrating on a different level. You have to be vibrating on a different frequency in order to experience the things you want in life. So if you're vibrating on a positive thought, you're vibrating on, I'm going to be successful. You're vibrating on confidence, you're vibrating on whatever it is that you're vibrating on, that's what you're going to attract. Hence the law of attraction. So vibration is the first one. And so we're gonna move right along. So the second one is law of relativity. Now the reason why I like the law of relativity because everything is relative, right? Everything is relative. And I was talking to my significant other earlier about the law of relativity. And so I use the house that we live in as an example. So think about it like this. Every house in this neighborhood is way bigger than the house that we stay in, right? So everyone in the neighborhood, if they ever came into this house, they would say, "Ooh, this is a tiny house," right? But someone that comes from a studio apartment will say, "Oh, this is a big house." Or someone that comes from the projects will say, "Oh, this is a big house." Or someone that comes from a trailer will be like, "Oh, they have a big house," you know? So that's what they'll say. And so a lot of times we tend to migrate to one perspective or the other, right? So relativity, like what are you perceiving about this situation? And so while the outsiders are saying, "Oh, they have a big house," or they have a big house, or they have a small house, you know, what we're thinking, right, is this is one of our houses, you know, because we have more than one house, you know, and so we understand that this is one of our houses. So the size of this house does not matter because the size of this house does not determine how capable we are in anything that we do, right? But what a lot of people tend to do, they tend to, you know, instead of focusing on what they know about themselves, they focus on what others may say or perceive about them. So if you apply the law of relativity in that fashion, then not focusing on what's outside and what the outsiders are saying, or, you know, the perspective of others or the perspective of society, but really truly focusing on what you perceive about yourself. So hopefully the perceptions of yourself are relatively good. All right. So that was another one that I really like that one. And so, oh yeah, a key point, talk to my kids. My kids always have something to say about what kids say about them when they're at school, right? So I've taught my children, like, hey, it doesn't matter what these folks say about you at school, right? To me, it don't matter. Because you're talking to a group of kids, they have all of these, you know, nice shoes and nice clothes and all this stuff, which my kids do have nice clothes and shoes. They're just not the very expensive clothes and shoes. I don't see a point. These kids grow every year. Like, I don't see a point in buying them all of these designers and all that stuff, because that's not important. But I do see a point in ensuring that my children go on at least 2 to 3 vacations a year, so they have quality of life, they have substance, they can talk about what they're, you know, with people. They can talk about Dominican Republic and Jamaica and Mexico and, you know, different places, Europe. They can talk about all these places because they've been there. Like my little bitty baby, he's so cute. He's 1 year old and he has 3 passport stamps already, you know, but that right there, if anyone saw us out, they'll be like, "Oh, look at that poor family." You know, if a rich person saw us out, they'll be like, "Look at a poor family," you know, but we have, in our mind, we have the best lives, you know. So just a point to another good example to give, especially when you're dealing with your kids. My daughter now, she says, you know, how many passport stamps do you have when people try to talk about her? So that's another good point. Okay, so number 3, we're on number 3, cause and effect. So cause and effect is pretty much self-explanatory. For every cause, there's an effect, and yada yada yada. Like everything has a cause and effect. A cause and effect. And so an example that I wrote down here is car maintenance, right? So I know women, we bad at this. Like I really don't do nothing in my car. Like I let me tell you something. I appreciate that divine masculine energy in there, because he makes sure that car is running and doing what it's supposed to do. Okay. So cause and effect. When I use the cars and maintenance, I had a car. This car was it was a 2004 Honda Accord. It was back in the day. back in the day. And let me tell you something. I didn't do no maintenance on that car. I would run that car up and down in the ground, and I didn't do any maintenance on this car, right? And so one day I had visited Texas from Kansas, because I was in Kansas at the time, and the engine started boom, 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 and I was like, what the world is that? You know, it was knocking. So I had no idea. So when I took it to Walmart, to one of those places, and they was like, when was the last time you had an oil change on this car? And I was like, oil change? What's that? You know, like, never since I had the car, right? And so now, mind you, this is 2004, and this year was 2011, and I didn't do any maintenance on that car. Needless to say, that car didn't last me long. I had to end up replacing the engine on that car. But fast forward years later, I had this 2012 BMW X5. All the maintenance was always done. And guess what? Never had an issue out of that car. That car saved my life. So I said all that to say that when you're not doing the maintenance on your spirit, okay? When you're not doing the maintenance on your spirit, you also are responsible for that negative thing that you attract, right? So if you're not doing the maintenance on your spirit, then what happens? You start having, you know, mood, different types of mood. You start experiencing forms of depression. You start experiencing all this type of chaos, attracting all this chaos into your life. And that's because you haven't been doing that maintenance. You haven't been doing your meditations. You haven't been doing your prayers for some of you. You know, you haven't been doing your rituals for some of you. So you have to do that maintenance, or the effect of you not doing those preventative maintenance checks is you're going to cause things to spiral in your life, right? You're going to cause things to happen in your life that could have been prevented as long as you did the preventative maintenance on it, all right? So now, the next law, let me make sure I didn't leave anything out. Okay, that's it. So the next law is the law of polarity. Now, it took me a while to be able to pronounce this word, okay? Because I was like, what is this word? You know, but the law of polarity. And so the law of polarity is pretty much everything in the physical world has a polarity. So when we're talking about polarities, we're talking about left and right, up and down, north and south, east and west, right? So everything has a polarity, all right? The masculine and feminine. And so with that being said, that to me is saying you can't have one without the other, right? So the polarity of having wealth would be having a plan to establish wealth. You can't say, I'm going to be wealthy, or I'm going to be a millionaire, but you're not doing any wealthy or millionaire type of actions. You know, I want to start a business, but you don't have a business plan. You know, you just shooting from the hip, just going with the flow, right? You know, so that right there, that's your polarity, all right? So you need, in order to be successful in one, you have to have the other. And if you don't have the other, you're setting yourself up for failure, okay? So pretty much everything has its balance. It's just natural balance that the universe said has to happen. Like, this has to happen. Like, you have to have this balance in order for this to be accomplished. You can't be talking about you're gonna achieve wealth and you're not doing anything to get the wealth. A lot of people, like, they be like, oh, I'm gonna pray about it. Yeah, you can pray all you want to, but if you ain't putting no action behind that prayer, it's not gonna happen. You can meditate all you want to, but if you ain't putting no action behind those meditations or putting any actions behind the messages that Spirit sent to you, it's not gonna happen. Next year you're gonna have the same resolution. Okay? So I'm not trying to sound harsh, but that's just the reality of it. So law number 5. The note that I almost left out is you got to step out of your comfort zone. I learned that in network marketing. I used to be a network marketer, and I learned that you had to get real uncomfortable sometimes in order to get where you wanted to go. So just keep that case in point. Law number 5 is the law of gestation. Now, law number 5, you guys, that's the law that gets us caught up all the time, right? And I'm gonna give you a good example, because I bet you like, how did gestation get us caught up? So with gestation is pretty much the period that it takes for something to form, okay? So typical, I'm gonna use this example because this is a good example. I can use this example for almost all of them. When you having a kid, it takes about 9 to 10 months. It takes about a 9 to 10 month gestational period to have the child, right? So now you got the kid. It takes that long to have the kid. But there have been some cases where some children have been born in 3 months and survive, 5 months and survive, before the 9 to 10 month that's expected for the child to be able to come out of the womb and thrive, right? With the help of technology. So just because I had my child at 10 months doesn't mean that you're going to have your child at 10 months. You may have or I had 40 weeks in one day. So just because I had 40 weeks in one day doesn't mean your child's going to come out at 40 weeks in one day. Okay? Your child may come out at 36 weeks, So you have to understand that everyone has a different gestation period, right? So just because, a person was successful in something doesn't mean that and when they got successful in it within a year, that doesn't mean that you're going to be successful in it within a year. You might do it faster. You might do it slower. But you can't base what it takes for you to create your thing to be the same as the person that created their thing. It's not going to work. Okay? And that's, I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'm 37 and I ain't married and got no kids." So, just because I had kids early don't mean you gotta have kids when I have kids. "Oh, I'm almost 40 and I'm not married." So, just because you're not married doesn't mean that you're not gonna get married. Everybody's timeline is not the same. Your gestation period is not the same. Even on this spiritual journey, some people not gonna get everything like that. It's going to take longer. Look how long it took me to get here, okay? So it might take you longer. Some may get it faster. You can't have these expectations for yourself because every person is different and they're unique. And that's why a lot of people get caught up in feeling like they're failing, vibrating that they are failures, and having these emotions of failure, because they're focused on the gestation period it took this person to accomplish something versus the timeline it took them to accomplish it. No. I don't care what y'all out there doing. My timeline is my timeline. I'm good. If I never succeeded in anything else, I feel like I've accomplished enough. Period. Because I have residual income, I have passive income, I'm okay. Like, I'm okay. And you should be okay with what you have too. Everybody's timeline is not yours. Alright, so I ain't gonna preach on that because I can stay on that one all day. Alright, so the next one is the rhythm. So the 6th law is the law of rhythm. Everything has a rhythm, right? And one thing I used as an example was dancing. And the reason why I used dancing as an example was because if a person is on the dance floor and they off beat, the first thing everyone's going to do is talk about them or say that they can't dance. And the person that got the most rhythm is typically considered the person that can dance the best. That's just how it is, right? So, with this one, with the law of rhythm, everything has a rhythm. And so you can't rush these rhythms, all right? What happens when they out of rhythm on the dance floor? First thing somebody say is, "Ooh," the boy say, "Ooh, she can't dance." Or the girl say, "Ooh, he can't dance." And they don't want to dance with them no more. That's just how it is. And so the same thing like with this law of rhythm, all right? In the military, we had what was called battle rhythms. And you had to do each step in the battle rhythm in order to save the life. Okay? And I know it sounds crazy, but that's what it was. And so if you skip the step in the battle rhythm, you might have caused death. If you rushed the battle rhythm, you might have caused death. You might have caused the lives of the troops that were out there waiting on you to provide them with whatever it was that you was supposed to do. You might have caused, them to lose their lives, because there's specific steps that you have to do, and you cannot miss steps, because if you miss the step, then what? So I'm saying that to say you can't rush rhythms. Like, everything has a rhythm for a reason. If you was listening to a song and then in the middle of the song the rhythm started getting rushed, you'd be like, oh, wait. You wouldn't want to listen to the song anymore. So you can't rush the rhythm. So applying this law of rhythm, just knowing when to slow down and not trying to take shortcuts, applying this law of rhythm into your life, you'll be able to, you'll see the things through, and it'll end up being, it'll be a positive outcome. Okay. And also taking the rhythm and going back to gestation. Rushing the rhythm could mess up your gestational period, right? You rush that rhythm, it messes up your gestational period, and then boom. Now, you really done messed some things up, because Spirit had you over here brewing and doing this and doing that, and you trying to rush it. No, because you're gonna take things out of divine order. You cannot rush that rhythm. It was a rhythm for a reason. It was in this sequence for a reason. And now you trying to rush it. You trying to skip stuff. That's a lot of things I noticed too on the spiritual journey. A lot of people try to skip the hard work. You can't skip the hard work. Like, the work gonna hurt when you're doing the meditation, when you're doing the alignment, when you digging in and trying to find those things that got you stuck. When you find these boxes, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna be a painful experience, right? And that's what you need to never experience it again. So you can't rush the rhythm. You have to endure your season. You have to feel it. Once you try to rush the rhythm, you knock everything out of order. And guess what Spirit say? Or guess what the divine say? Oh, they didn't learn that. Let's go ahead and start them back over. I was just telling my kid today, lazy people work twice. You don't do it right the first time, you got to do it again. That's Spirit way of saying, oh, you didn't get the point. Oh, well, let me send you let me put you right on back here. Let me go on and mess this relationship up so you can get the point. Let me go ahead and mess this up in your finances so you can get the point, because you didn't get the point. Okay, so law number 7 is the law of transmutation. Okay, and so the law of transmutation is pretty much the period that it takes you to become who you are. I mean, that's what I got from it. I mean, once you read it, you might get something different from it. Again, perspectives, right? So when I was reading about that, I thought about the tadpole, like, instantly, right? Because as soon as the tadpole, come out the little frog egg, right? It's like a little dot, it's like a little bubble dot. And then the little dot get a tail on it. And then you're like, oh, look at that little ugly thing, right? And then all of a sudden, like, after a while, this tadpole turns into a frog or a toad, whichever one it is, but then it has all these beautiful colors on it, but it had to go through that incubation period in order to become who it was going to be, and so that transmutation period, that's you and your transformation, right? That's how you transform, looking at yourself now and looking at yourself 10 years 10 years ago and then 10 years before that, you are not the same person. You can't tell me you're the same person. And if you are the same person, you're going to have to go ahead and do some realignment. Go into that link, get some of that shock therapy so you can get all centered and everything. But anywho, you know, that's the period that it takes for you to become who you are. You know, whether you were someone that, you know, didn't have a good sense of direction. You didn't have a great understanding of spirituality. You wasn't business savvy. You wasn't financial savvy. And then, now coming into yourself, you're talking to people about finances. You're doing this, you're doing that. You're healing people. You're teaching people. You've been through your transmutation period. You've had your, some of you guys have been through some traumas, some unspeakable traumas in your lives that, yes, it sucks that you went through it, but it was part of your period to help transform you into who you are now. Some of you guys grew up in abusive homes with your parents, but guess what? It helps you become who you are now. Some of you guys were in abusive relationships, verbally, physically. Some of you guys had suffered from financial hardships, all of this different stuff. Although it appeared negative, it was a part of your transmutation period. So you had to go through all of these things. You had to go through all of these things in order to become who you were going to become. So instead of taking that, right, and vibrating on a lower frequency, try to take that and vibrate at a higher frequency and be like, dang, I used to be here, but now I'm here. Wow. Look at how far I've come. That's the type of stuff you got to say to yourself. That's how you start vibrating higher. When you start doing your affirmations, that's the type of stuff you got to talk to yourself about. But like, hey, I know I went through this, but I did that. Right? So, but anywho, all this stuff has just been on my, it's been on my conscience for weeks. My spirit coach, she went live about, some of the laws of nature as well. She went live on 3 of them, and I felt really inclined to really dig deep and understand these laws. And then I decided to look at how I have applied these laws unknowingly, right? Unknowingly, and how my life had turned out. Because I used to be, what do they call it? The victim mentality? That's what they call it. I used to be the victim mentality. Everything that happened to me because somebody else made it happen to me. I never looked at what I did to cause that thing to happen. And then I start understanding, oh, I attracted that crap to me. I was thinking like that, and that's why this started coming my way, Oh, I always said that I was bad with finances, and I was bad with finances for a long time. And then now all of a sudden I'm good with finances. I'm like, hold on. Was I really bad with finances, or was that something that I was just telling myself? Was that a frequency that I was just vibrating for myself? Then I started looking at how other people's lives were turning out, especially when I was in network marketing. A lot of people was building faster than me. But then I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Who cares if they're building faster than me? Because they was building real fast, it didn't mean anything. The people that became a part of my family from doing that, not only did they stay the course of the whole, they stayed the course of the whole business, but we're still friends today. So I would take the value that I received out of that over anything. Because there's a lot of people that was climbing that ladder real fast, and everybody that they, brought into their business despised them, So I used to do that all the time. I used to psych myself out, especially like when it was time for me to make staff sergeant. Oh, I used to psych myself out. I used to always compare myself to other people. Although I knew I had everything that it took for me to get that rank, I would still compare myself to other people. And then all of a sudden, the rules will change again. And then the rules would change again. In the correspondence course, the requirements for the amount of courses that you had to have would change. And I was like, why does this keep happening to me? And then it started happening so much. And then one day I don't know what the heck, I got mad. And I just started saying, I'm going to get that next month. And I started yelling, talking about I deserved it and all that. Like yelling in the mirror, telling myself that one day. And then the next month, I got promoted. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. You know, but I believe that it happened because what I said to myself, I meant it. I meant every bit of it. I started vibrating at that frequency. I started vibrating with confidence. Like, and now I still vibrate with confidence, you know. But that's just a little token that I wanted to leave with you guys. If you like the content on this page, go ahead and hit like, comment, and subscribe. Next week, I'm going to post those new readings. I hope y'all are here for it. And remember, if you guys want to, you know, invest in your chakra alignment and getting yourself all together, you know, your spiritual baths, all your spiritual needs, go ahead and click that link below for shock therapy. Use my coupon code, and you'll get 10% off your first purchase. So hey, all right, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. Talk to you later. Hey everybody, I'm Pika. I honestly don't know where it left off, so I'm gonna go back to the camera. Stop, y'all. So